Active learning is when each and every student, whether present in the classroom or learning remotely, is totally engaged in carrying out incremental learning experiences that make sense to them, and they are assisted in connecting these experiences to a whole concept that meets learning expectations for each grade level or course. This is a series of 6 lessons for reported and direct speech, and this is lesson number 4 out of the 6 series, and it is going to be focusing on direct questions using who, what, how, where, when, and why. This lesson can be used with Mega Goal 6, Traveler 6, and Flying High 5. This lesson uses the following color code to help you know where you are. There is before you start, there is learning, there is do it alone and check, and there is test yourself. So as we said, this is the 4th in a series of 6 using WH words to make clauses that report speech. And if you would like to know how we progressed, you need to go and watch 1, 2, and 3 in the series of the 6. Now, this is something we have done in the previous 1, 2, 3 series, and we're not going to repeat it here, but we're going to focus that in every lesson, the starting point has got to work on these 4 principles. And we're not going to read everything because you can watch them in the previous one, but I will mention these four principles in the subsequent slide. Now, before you start, we're going to tell the students to do something, and that what they're going to do has to match those 4 principles. The first principle is heightened attention. You can say be careful, but that doesn't heighten every student's attention or pay attention. So what we need to do is design it in a way that heightens the student attention. Another problem is that the students are speaking in their native language, and we've got to design the task in such a way that it moves them from their native language to the target language, in this case, English. The third one is that it has to give the students a sense of direction where this lesson is going. Just writing the objective and telling them the objective does not mean everybody would understand it, the same way as if you go through an experience that gives you the sense of direction. And the last one, which is the most important, is if only part of the class or some of the students can do the first task, and they are the ones who know English, and the ones who don't know English cannot do the task, they are left behind and they will never ever be able to catch up. So the first task has to be a challenge, like leveling the playing field, if so to speak, so that every student is able to do it, whether some of them are lower ability in English or higher ability in English, the challenge is the same. So let's start. We're going to give the students 4 sets of sentences. Each pair means the same. We want them to mark the changes they see in the second sentence of each pair. Now, you can do this either by giving them the 4 sets, or you can give it one at a time. So when they finish this, then you give them the other one, or you can give them all 4. So now the students, all of them in the classroom, they are not answering questions in English. They are using observational powers to mark the differences they see in the second sentence of each pair. So after they've done this, and this with the feedback should take maybe 4 to 6 minutes of classroom time if the lesson is about 40 minutes. So after we've given them some time to do it, remember, they don't have to get everything. They cannot notice everything. If they got some of them that they missed, it's all right. This is just heightening attention, giving a sense of direction, giving the same challenge to everybody. And since they are looking at English, they are able to switch now by looking at English rather than they're still thinking in Arabic, which is called code switching. So let's start now. We start to give them the feedback. There are two ways to give the feedback. One of them is to tell the students to tell each other in pairs what the differences they marked were. And the other one is to do it like we're going to do it right now on a slide. But in either case, whether they do it together or not, we need to give them this as a feedback. What is not a good idea is to only select 1, 2, or 3 of the students to give their differences, because that will leave everybody else out. Let's check here. What are the changes in the second sentence? So what does Soha like? Wafa asked. Let's see. These are Wafa's exact words in the question. What does Soha like? And these are not the exact words that Soha said. We notice that there are no more quotation marks. There is no period or punctuation. We also notice that the does is not there anymore. And we notice that like has been changed to liked. That's all we need from the students, without any explanations about present tense and past tenses and whatever and indirect speech, because that would involve a lot of talking, and that's not what this one is about, the first task. So let's look at the feedback for the second one. Where do you live? Ahmed asked me. Ahmed asked me where I lived. His exact question words are, where do you live? Not his exact question words, where I lived. So again, this is a noticing task. You know, the brain is comparing and contrasting the direct speech one to the indirect speech one. We are not yet into meaning. We are seeing the differences. And don't tell the students, let them do it by themselves. So we notice no period or punctuation. We notice no quotation marks. We notice that we have removed the do. We've noticed that the you has been changed to I, and now it's capitalized. We've noticed that live has been changed to live. That's what the students should be doing right now. And of course, no quotation marks at the end. Abir asked Khulud, when are you traveling to London? And again, we notice the exact words are, when are you traveling to London? And not the exact words are, when she was traveling to London. And we notice no comma or punctuation. We notice no quotation marks. We notice now that the you has been changed to she, and we notice that the are has been changed to was. This is what the students should be doing, noticing the differences. Now, once we finish this, we are going, this is, the fourth one. Who is your favorite football player? Again, the exact words Ibrahim asked, not the exact words Ibrahim asked. No comma or punctuation, no quotation marks. Notice that the is has been changed to was. Notice that your has been changed to his. Notice that there are no quotation marks at the end. Now, after we have given this feedback, this is the first task. What we should do is sum it up. So now we can give a verbal sum up to help the students connect and consolidate what they have just done. We are going to say, when the exact question words, those are the exact question words, start with who, what, where, when, and why, etc. That's what they do. And has an auxiliary of do, does, or did. Notice that they do. They are dropped in the reported clause. Other verbs are kept, but they are placed in the structure of a statement instead of the structure of a question. So in direct speech, it sounds like a question, it looks like a question. In reported speech, it looks like the structure of a statement. Let's look at it. What he bought is the reported clause. And here's another example. When the exact question words, those are the exact question words, start with who, when, or where, and has an auxiliary of do, does, or did, they are dropped and the reported clause, the verbs are now in the order of when the train to Dammam left, which is a statement order instead of a question order. Let's look at example 3. Where are my car keys, Maha asked. And again, exact question words, where are my car keys? And they start with who, what, where, when, how, why, etc. And it doesn't have an auxiliary of do, does, or did, which needs to be dropped. What happens here is it stays, but goes into order of a statement. Not where are her car keys, but what, where her car keys were, and that will be explained further. Now, after the sum up, we give the students a task to do. This is very important, not to follow the traditional method of present, practice, produce, because by the time we reach the practice and produce, if something is missing, it's too late to fix it. So what we do is we give this task that looks like an assessment test, but it is not. It's part of the learning process. And another thing that is very important is that if we see that they didn't get it here, we're able to go back and help some of the students fix it. But if we wait till we reach the end and they didn't get it, it's kind of frustrating for the instructor and for the student. So we ask them to do this by themselves. We say, correct the mistakes if there are any, write correct if there are no mistakes. We're not going to spend too much time. Again, the method we use is, if we're in a classroom, we're able to tell the students, now tell each other what you got, compare what you have written to what your colleague has written. If we're able to do this technologically and put them into groups of 2 or 4 online, they can check with each other. Once they finish checking with each other, which I highly recommend, and I do not recommend to select 1, 2, or 3 in the classroom to give the answer, because 1, it will leave out the majority of the classroom, and 2, even if somebody was talking, he would or she would only be talking about 1 sentence. So after they have checked with each other and told each other, you know, their differences and similarities, now we can say, okay, let's give you the feedback, and this is what it is. This is where we put an X, it shouldn't belong there. This is what we had to change. You can pause this and watch watch it slowly, or you can pause it and look at the screen to see what we have done. But as I said, the most important thing is, after we spend a few minutes, like 5 to 10 minutes of learning something, at the end of that learning, we give something to do that they can learn from, and that we can see if they have mastered or are able to do that step before we move on. So it's not from one lesson to another, it's within the same lesson. Now, let's learn it, okay? Remember, the subject or the who of the sentence in a quote can refer to the person reporting, that is in this case Maha is asking the question, or to other than Maha. So let's see how this one works. Where are my car keys? Who asked that question? Maha, and those were Maha's exact words. Now, my can refer to Maha or to someone else, because Maha is going, where are my car keys? Maybe she's talking to herself, maybe she's asking somebody. But the my, we need to know, this is part of the process of learning. We need to find those words and establish what each word refers to. Now, let's change that to reported speech. Maha asked. Now remember, in the reported speech, it's no longer going to be a direct question. It's going to become a clause that starts with the question word. So what's the question word? Where? And it cannot be in the structure of a question. It has to be in the structure of a statement. So are my car keys is a structure of a question, whereas my car keys are is a structure of a statement. However, we need to know that my refers to Maha. And since we are no longer talking to Maha, we are referring to Maha. We cannot say Maha asked where my. We need to say Maha asked where her, because we're talking about her. And after her, we need the car keys. And since it's no longer a question, but a statement, the R will go after the car keys. But since we have asked, which is in the past, we have to change the R to where her car keys were, because where is coming after asked and it has to move into the past. Let's try another one. When does the train to Dammam leave? Ibrahim asked. Notice that when does the train to Dammam leave, there are no who people in there, so we don't have anything to refer to. But we know that Ibrahim asked the question, and we know these are Ibrahim's exact question words. When does the train to Dammam leave? Now, let's change that to reported speech. We go back to the reporter, Ibrahim asked, and we have to start with the question word, when, but it has a does. So we need to drop that does and put the train to Dammam. Now, since we have asked this in the past and leave is not, we need to convert leave to left because left follows the verb asked. Let's try another one. What did you buy? Ibrahim asked Ahmed. Okay, now we know that Ibrahim asked Ahmed, so Ibrahim is the speaker, and these are his exact words, but notice we have a who there, a you. Does it refer to Ibrahim or to Ahmed? Well, since Ibrahim is asking the question, what did you buy to Ahmed? So you has got to refer to Ahmed. Now let's change that to reported speech. Ibrahim asked Ahmed. Now we put the question word, what? But again, do, does, and did are dropped because it's no longer a question, it's a statement. So we don't need the do, does, or did anymore. And now we look at the you. We're not talking to Ahmed anymore. We're talking about Ahmed. And Ahmed is a male. So we're going to say he. Ibrahim asked Ahmed what he. He refers to Ahmed. Now, did buy is already in the past. And asked is in the past. So we have to move the did buy or the buy into the past perfect like this. It's already, did buy is in the past, but it comes after asked, so it has to be changed to the past perfect. Then we give the students the opportunity to work alone and do exactly the same thing that we did in the learning part. This is a step that will help them consolidate and collect their learning. And they don't have to remember a lot of things, you know. The time or the amount of information that they need to remember is segmented into bite size to help the students learn. And we gave them the instructions. The instructions are to do exactly what they saw in the previous slides. Where did the children go? Khalid asked his wife. After they have had some time to do it alone and check with each other. So you might want to do all of them and they check with each other before feedback, or you might do one sentence at a time. And my recommendation is if the students are at a lower level or they're not doing very well, you might want to do each direct question first to make sure that everybody got it. But here's, we're doing one at a time. But remember, you can do all of them and then do the feedback. So let's do feedback. Where did the children go? Khalid asked his wife. Let's look at Khalid is the person asking the question. His exact words are, where did the children go? Those are his exact words for his question. Now let's change that to reported speech. Now, we've got the children, Khalid and his wife. Khalid asked his wife about the children. So the children don't refer to Khalid or his wife. We can keep it as is. Let's start. Khalid asked his wife, okay, fine. Now the question word is where. Now, did the children go? Did go is in the past. We need to drop the did because we drop them when it's a statement, not a question, and we go directly to children. Now, go is not in the present, it's did go, so that's past. And we've got to move it into the past perfect. And let's do the next one alone. We give them some time to do it. Then we give them feedback like this. What model is your car? Abdullah asked Ahmed. Notice we have your, Abdullah, Ahmed. What does the word your refer to? Abdullah or Ahmed or somebody else? We need to think about that. So we find the exact person who asked the question, reporter, and those are his exact question words. And your is referring to Ahmed because Abdullah asked Ahmed, what model is your car, Ahmed? And now let's change that to reported speech. Ahmed asked Abdullah. Now what's the next word? It's the question word. What model? Now, notice we've got is your car. That's a question format. But in a statement format, we cannot say is your car. We need to put your car before the is. And we move the is to the end and put it as a was. Remember, asked, the is has changed to past, and Ahmed, the his is referring to Ahmed. So now what model his car was is no longer a question model, state model. It's a statement model, even though it starts with a what. Again, we give them another opportunity to try this one. And remember, you can do all four together and then give feedback, or you can do one at a time like I'm doing now. When do you have time to help your dad? Maha asked her children. And then after we give them some time to do it, we give them feedback. Who is asking the question? Maha. Her exact words are, when do you have time to help your dad? Now notice we have your dad, Maha, and her children. We have three different people here. So we need to be careful when we are reporting it to establish the references. So notice, when do you is referring to her children. She's talking to them. But your dad is referring to the children's dad. So we need to be careful when we are talking and reporting. Let's change it. Maha asked her children, obviously automatically question word. We drop the do, does, and did. Now do have is present. So we drop the do, but why did we change the you to they? Because now they is referring to children. You is directly to the person we're talking to. But when we're talking about them, we have to use references like he, she, they, etc. And in this circumstance, her children is they. When we're not talking to her, we're talking about her children, then we are saying they. Now, have and do are present. But since we started with ask, we have to move it to the past, had. And had time to help. Notice we can't say your dad anymore because we're talking about the children's dad, and we need to say their dad. Now, when we finished all those, we can now give them 2 tests as the final part to find out how much they have learned. But we have divided the test into 2 parts. One with support, which is the blanks, and the other one where they have to rewrite the whole sentence. The most interesting part is that if you replicate this in their quizzes and tests, then the students know that before they go to a test, they know what is expected of them, what they should be knowledgeable about. The only thing they don't know is what are the exact words you're going to give them. So this is a kind of test that helps the student learn for the test and not study for the test. So here's the first one, which is only fill in the blanks. What do you do in your free time? Hussein asked me. Hussein asked me blank, blank, blank in my free time. So notice they are not rewriting the whole sentence. They are only filling in the blanks, which will help the teacher and the students understand how much they know and what they still need to learn. So we will give them some time to do this, and then we will give them the feedback. So we can give them the feedback immediately after that one, or we can raise the stakes. So this one now, so if the students are not very high level, we will do the first one and we'll give feedback immediately to help them develop into the B1. But if they are, and only a teacher will ever know that, of a better level, then we can give them these two and give feedback. The decision and choices are the instructors. Now here is where they have to rewrite each sentence correctly. Now notice it says including punctuation and capitalization. The way that we have been working is we do not say, okay, this lesson is only focusing on this. We will stop looking at what we have done in sessions 1, 2, and 3. What you learned in 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6, 3 out of 6 has got to be added into 4 out of 6. So this accumulation and connectivity is what consolidates the learning. Again, after they finish rewriting this, so this can be an assignment, it can be on a spot test to check whether they can do it, or it can also be something that you can use in a separate test. So all you need to prepare a test now is to change all the words, change the content. All right, so let's give some feedback now. What do you do in your free time? Hussein asked me what I did in my free time. We're not going to go through every word. You can pause the video here and look at it. But let's go to the feedback here. Notice, why do you deserve praise? Ahmed asked me. Ahmed asked me why I deserve praise. Now, by the time we got here, we have scaffolded in incremental experiences everything. And we expect that now a majority of the students are able to do this rather than only some. We would like to thank you for participating, and we would like to say this is the way we have been structuring all the lessons, and this is if you want to contact us, you can do so immediately.